My name is Aisha S1. I am a first-generation Pakistani Canadian, a single mom of 3 kids, and a recent university grad. Between my medical challenges, trying to start a new career, and welcoming my mother into my home, I have spent a lot of time navigating the ups and downs of life. It is through the vulnerable conversations I have had with my friends and family that I've come to realize the importance of compassion to get through life's challenges. I invite you to join the conversation, laugh with us, share with us, and realize the one truth that unites us. We may think we are alone in our struggles, but together, one conversation leads to the next. And this is where we find hope, humor, and healing on the Gen Xperience with Aisha. So I want to welcome all you guys today. I think this is going to be an epic show. We've got the kids and we've got the moms. And the purpose of this show is to really understand both sides. So just to clarify, it's not kids versus moms. So I want everybody to put their weapons away and all of that stuff. This is really understanding each other. But I wanted to throw out the very first kind of fun question is, given the options of all the TV moms, who would you guys equate your mom to in terms of a TV mom? So we'll start with you, Brock.
You have to give me time on that one.
Yeah. Sorry?
You have to give me time.
Okay, Jahan?
I go with Freddie's mom from iCarly.
All right, Jamal?
Oh, I know you'd want me to say the mom in Modern Family, like Gloria.
I don't want you to say anything. I want you to just...
Yeah, but probably Marge Simpson. Already. I'm just kidding.
You realize you're sitting the closest to me, right?
This is not a safe answer.
Ethan?
I think Nina and I have the same one. I'm going to take Nina's. I'm going to take Rainbow Johnson from Blackish.
Oh, that's nice. That's
she
really
watched
nice.
Blackish, but I watched Blackish.
But essentially, she's a very,
I know
she's
exactly
a
who
very
you're talking about.
open-minded, very chill type of mom. But she will put you in your place if you, if you
That's
mess
a
up.
lovely compliment, Ethan. That's lovely.
I know where I have to eat tonight.
Oh, sorry,
so.
Nina.
Thank you.
Same?
Yeah, he stole mine,
I did
actually.
steal it.
Okay, who's your backup?
I don't have a backup. I don't know a lot of TV.
Answer.
We don't even watch TV.
We don't watch TV
Okay.
like that.
Iman?
Okay, like I say Ginny from Ginny and Georgia, but without all the like criminal stuff.
Oh.
As far as you know.
Without all the criminal activity.
No, but like, you know, she's very like glitz and glam, and obviously very glitz and glam and fun colors and stuff, but she's also like a ride or die, like, you know, and very like mama bear. What are you laughing about?
Sentimental moment.
What you laughing at?
Aisha's face was like, you better not mess up. You better not mess up.
All right, those are your answers. Brock, now you can round this out.
After brainstorming this loaded question, I'm going to plead the fifth.
Sorry?
I'm going to plead the fifth.
So your kids are basically doing the worst out of all of us.
Pretty much.
We love you though. We
Clearly I did something wrong here.
We'll get into it.
Yeah. So then let's move on to the moms. What would you guys say was the most challenging period of parenting that you had? Was it when they were babies, when they were preteens, when they were teens, or this stage? Which one would you say was the most challenging and why?
Do you want me to go first?
Yes, you go first.
I guess when they were babies and then starting school, because it was hard to sort of relinquish them over to someone else because you had control, they were compliant, you knew where they were, what they were doing, what was happening. It's that first letting someone else take care. That was the hardest part.
And what about like from let's say, John's here, so your daughter Jenna couldn't make it, but Jahan is here. So in terms of Jahan, his journey through life and stuff, which one was the hardest period to parent him?
That's so specific. Like they're right beside each other.
The hardest period to parent him. I don't think there's been a hard period, actually.
She's lying.
Like someone's a liar?
I didn't ask cousins. I was asking the mom. Okay, that's lovely. Chico, well, what would your answer be?
So every stage has its challenges, of course. There's the too much dependence or a lot of dependence when they're younger. But I would say the most challenging was when the pre-teens to teens, when they think they now know something, you give them, you try to teach them to be confident, to be vocal when they are little, and now they are talking back. Yeah, that was tough. That was very challenging.
I was a delight. I don't know what she's talking about. That was a delight to be
The fact that you had to open your mouth means that she's talking about shit.
You know what?
you could have been quiet like me.
That's what exactly. And she was the most difficult. Oh my gosh.
Was or is this the
No,
mo-
no.
like
Oh, you know what? The heavens have heard me. The sea is calmer now.
Right now.
Yeah, but there was a time when there was torment.
yeah.
There was,
I'm a really nice person.
13, 14, 15.
Right.
Oof.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, I grew a lot of gray hair that period.
What about you, Mama?
Well,
Like directly.
I would say that it's different for each kid. First of all, overall, I found the whole adolescence part very challenging because I had all my kids back to back to back to back. And I had done that intentionally because I thought they're all going to go through the stages together. They're all going to go to potty training, sports teams, first day of school. Like they're all going to do those stages together. So that was very challenging to me because I was always, it seems like I was spending years and years and years in mountains of diapers and baby food and they're so dependent that even if you put the food in front of them, you still have to like put it in their mouth and monitor. And it was a very challenging time for me because I definitely lost myself in a lot of that. But when they became adults, I kind of share the same opinion as Sandy. Like now looking back at it, I can't fault them for the rebellions that they had because they were just going through life. Do you know what I mean? They were never disrespectful. They knew that we're not going to Dr. Phil it. If you say something that's very disrespectful, there will be consequences. You know what I mean? So I would say that they were all pretty cool kids. Pretty cool kids. And going through that, the challenge that I had was because I had such strict parents and the things that I was not allowed to do, they did. And I had to really figure out how to say, back in my day, which is something that we all heard as parents, right? Back in my day, our parents did the same thing, was not to say that. It was just like a whole new learning of freedoms, of allowing your kids to think for themselves, and then also really stepping back and allowing them to fall flat on their face. It was really, really challenging. My next question would be, what cultural aspects do you think molded your parenting? Sandy, you're married into a Pakistani family, so there's a really strong cultural value set there because they're very traditional and such. Do you think that that did impact your parenting in any way, or do you think that, good or bad, or do you think that you paved your own way forward?
I feel like I paved my own way forward. Yeah, definitely there was influences, but I disregarded them and did my own thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think you'd agree with that, Jahan?
Yeah, I think so. Like my mom is, she's pretty independent. She, if someone tells her to do something, she doesn't always do it. You know, not in like a bad, not in like a,
Yeah.
She doesn't
like
Sorry,
not always in a bad sense, more in a way of like she's able to think for herself and not just be influenced by other people. So I would definitely agree with that. Like there was influence from the outside, like my dad's side of the family.
Yep.
But yeah, she was able to think for herself and definitely pave her own way.
Yeah. And Chico, what would you say?
Who's the guy that sang "I Did It My Way"? Is it Frank Sinatra?
Yeah.
I also Frank Sinatra did.
Did you really?
Yeah, I had a lot of. I came up with my own things, but yes, cultural influence. We may not be aware of it, but it does shape a lot the way we do a lot of things. Respect for your elders was a big thing for me.
Yeah.
Because that was the main thing when we were growing up.
Yep.
In any way, you say good morning, you are respectful, please and thank you, those things. And if you didn't say thank you, I would grab it away from you, that kind of thing. So those influences were there. And so the thing about my children and I, we've been on our own, just the three of us, since my son was 4 and my daughter was 18 months. So, and we were on our own in a different country, no family at all, no support, just the three of us. So yes, I tailor-made a lot of stuff on my own, just for them, and of course with my background,
Okay. So I think that culture is not necessarily bad. I think that there's a lot of good things about culture, and I wanted to take those things from the Pakistani culture and implement those in my kids, like social skills, respecting your elders, and also respecting the kids behind you and knowing that you're a role model for them. So those are things that I definitely implemented in my kids, like little things like when we had multiple family dinners all the time, a lot of gatherings. And so the kids had to go to every single relative and say, hello, how are you? Hello, how are you? And I really liked that. And that just kind of picked up because they saw their older cousins do that. And I think that really helped create confidence in them and helped them to learn that social experience, networking and all that stuff rather than, being shy. And it also helped them to understand adults. I'm not saying that you need to go and hug Uncle so-and-so or do that. You need to feel comfortable in whatever you're doing, but you still need to acknowledge them. So for me, it was a marriage of Western values and Pakistani culture and bring them together to create some amazing kids. So I think that that learning also, but there was also like a lot of pressure in terms of like the challenge of teaching my kids the language. It was like constant pressure that, oh, you got to teach your kids the language. You got to teach your kids the language. And in the rat race of trying to just get them older and trying to do the best I could to raise them, that kind of went to the wayside. But the pressure culturally to make sure that my kids spoke Urdu was definitely something that weighed on me, which now if I looked back, I wish I had more strength and confidence to say, you know what, I wish I could give that opportunity to my kids, but I can't. I'm sorry. I've got other things. Like as long as they know the cultural values, as long as they know what is important, like we can sign off on that one rather than just adding more and more to that. So I guess I want to ask you kids, how much of culture do you think made you guys who you are today? Or do you feel like it was burdensome when grandma or grandpa or either side or aunts and uncles were like, you guys aren't whatever enough, or you guys are too westernized? Did you guys hear that? And if you did, what was your response to it, or how did you take that?
Well, me and Ethan grew up in South Africa. We were born in Zimbabwe, but we grew up in South Africa. So I feel like we experienced a lot of South African culture rather than Zimbabwean culture, because we are Zimbabwean and Malawian, but we lived in South Africa. So I think we kind of took culture for granted because we were so surrounded by people who experienced culture as well. Like coming to Canada, not a lot of people experience the same culture as us, but back in South Africa, almost everyone has this culture of their own. Yeah. So it's like everyone is going to visit the grandma, everyone's eating cultural food, and it's so normal. So when coming to Canada, it was just kind of acknowledging that we're different and that we need to love that we're different and that we need to embrace our culture as much as we possibly can and just be comfortable being yourself. That's kind of how culture impacted us.
Did you find that it was like as time went on and you went to church and you were surrounded by other people, did they pass comments like, oh, the kids are born here, so it's going to be a whole different ball game, or it's not like it was back in the old days? Like, did you find that those comments sort of made their way into your circle?
Yeah, I got a lot of language comments because we grew up speaking English even when we were living in Africa. So I did get a lot of language comments, but that's kind of mostly it. I didn't get a lot of
Nothing else.
Nothing else, just mostly language. Yeah.
Iman, what's your thoughts?
I think like you said, coming here, I didn't come here, sorry, I was born here, but I think going into a Western culture, I kind of rejected my own culture and my Pakistani roots because I was like, I just want to fit in. I just want to be what everyone else. Why don't we celebrate Christmas? It's Christmas, right? And why can't I do this? Why doesn't everybody else do this? So I kind of I didn't hate my culture in any way, but I just kind of rejected that part of me for a really long time and suppressed it because I just wanted to fit in. I wanted to be like everybody else. And I came from a school where it was very small, but it was also very Western, right? There was not a lot of people who looked like me or had the same cultural values or the same religion or whatever. So when I didn't eat pepperoni, people were like, why aren't you eating pepperoni, right? And it was kind of an embarrassing like taboo thing to talk about. But now, like looking back and like now that I'm older, I really like my culture. And I think it blends well. I think there's something so beautiful, like our weddings, right? And these, I know everybody kind of jokes about these like long days and oh my God, they're like months long, but I think it's fun, the bright colors and the dancing and the dolki and all that stuff. So I think like growing up, I didn't appreciate my culture, so I don't really know how it really affected me because I just rejected it, right? And obviously being with the elders or whatever, when we were in those family settings, it was a little different because everyone else was doing it, so it was easier to do it, right? And me being the youngest, right, like they all had to shake hands first, and then I was kind of the last one, right? But I think like I noticed that as a big difference, and also I noticed how girls and boys were like different in our culture, and I think it's not a bad or a good thing, but I didn't notice, right? Like the boys got to shake hands, I had to hug, right? And so it's like stuff like that I've noticed or whatever, right? The girls have to like do this and kind of, or say kind of a certain way, or, you know, present in this way. The boys got to wear hoodies a lot of times. The girls had to like wear these dresses. And I was like, why, right? I'm not a tomboy by any means, but at the same time, why? Like, I don't understand. So I think that was also a big thing growing up, but and like in total, I like my culture, but I know that growing up, it was really frustrating to butt heads because this isn't the culture I was surrounded by. So to be the only one alone, right, made you like felt so ostracizing, you know?
Jamal?
I'm pretty extreme when it comes to the absence of culture. Like it's crazy. I'm the most whitewashed you could get. Like,
We can hear it.
Yeah,
We know.
We can hear you.
I have a few good nicknames. The ice cream sandwich, the coconut. Yeah, the Oreo cookie.
Oreos.
Yeah, like I have a few of them where it's just like, I look brown, but we all know that I'm not brown, you know? And that's mainly because like when I changed schools to go to a city school instead of one of the schools out in the suburbs, you were introduced to so many more people with so many more like different ideas of life and philosophies and whatnot, that I just kind of started questioning like everything, not like in a negative sense, but like being like, why do we just blindly accept that like this is the way we do things? This is the like that you shouldn't eat pork or something like that, you know? So because of that, I just started more and more pushing the boundaries of culture until eventually I got to a point where I was like, I was so lost in this like idea of like just fitting in with everybody else that I just became white, you know? So, like, no offense to white people, that's I love you guys and whatnot. Yeah, like, yeah, no, like pause, but like, yeah, like like now I'm trying to come back a little bit. You know, I'm trying to embrace more things. You know, even you can see with my cooking, I'm the world's worst cook.
Yeah.
But shut up, okay?
How do you mess up a pizza, bro?
Oh, okay. But like I try to start, you know, widening my palette, and it's a slow journey, but it's a
It's in the works.
It's in the works. It's in the works. The ball rolling.
Proud of you.
We're so proud of you, buddy.
Guys, you're gonna be crying.
For me
You've come so
personally,
far.
I've always loved my culture, but I've never, growing up as well, it wasn't a very integral part to an extent where I would like practice it a lot. Because I went to a private school in South Africa, so I was kind of around a lot of like, not snobby people, but people who are pretty not very culturally based, you know, a lot of people who, you know, this was actually where it started, when you'd go to someone's house and their mother would tell you to call them by their first name. That was the biggest thing for me, because I would normally only call elders like auntie or uncle. So, you know, growing up, I kind of like embraced that kind of like westernized type of culture until I moved to Canada, and I realized, I was like, you know what? Culture is a part of who I am. I shouldn't really be putting it to the side so I can fit in with a lot of people, because I found that like it holds your values and your personality and your beliefs through the cultural practices that you hold close to your heart. So I personally love my culture, my Zimbabwean, South African, Malawian culture, the whole African culture. As you can see, I go around with my African beads, and my ring has Africa on it. You know, I love to embrace where I'm from, because I feel like there's a love and comfort in knowing where you belong, or knowing where you're from, knowing where your roots lie.
Yeah.
You know, it's beautiful. You know, whenever I come here, people are like, "Oh, you went to South Africa. What did you do in South Africa?" And I just say, "Well, look at this." You know, then the people love that. They're like, "Wow, you can go close to a hippo?" I'm like, "No, don't. Obviously, don't go close to the thing." But you know, back home, there's that love and there's that mutual understanding between the animals and human beings. You know, we went on a game drive. We were literally would like at arm's reach away from a giraffe, and the giraffe just kept looking at us like, "Hi," you know, like, what do you when you come here, you can go to a deer and he's gonna run away from you. You know, like there's that love in back home. It's something like, what's the word? Surreal. Something you can't explain. It's something. It's beautiful. It's I don't know what to say. It's just home.
It's home.
It's just home. And I love my culture for that, because I love to be able to, you know, say these are the things I do back home. These are the things I see back home. This is what my life is back home. And, you know, people can relate to that. People love that. People want to see that. And I feel like it sets you apart rather than, like Iman was saying, like, you know, she suppressed it growing up to fit in. You know, I did that as well. And I can attest to how she's feeling. But when I figured it out that, you know, this is who you are, you should love and embrace that, I decided this is going to be my, you know, not my whole identity, but it's going to be a core part of how you will see me from these days to come, because that's who I am.
Yeah. Wow.
That's awesome, man. That was actually kind of beautiful.
Yeah.
That was like
so you're not taking a trip to
Pakistan. That was the most articulate thing you've ever said in your life.
Take the whole family to Pakistan.
Yeah. Jahan, where do you sit with this?
Yeah, I mean, it was tough for me to like fully immerse myself in either side of like my two cultures, because I'm mixed. Like my mom's white, my dad's Pakistani. Like, most of the time, like I present as a white person, like I'm super pale. Like, look at me, you know.
We see.
So.
Oh really? I don't see color.
Yeah. So I mean, that's kind of how I spent most of my life, being like a white person. And I feel like at home, when you're surrounded by like your people, your family, we all kind of acted on our whiter tendencies, like eating dinner at 5:30 p.m.
Whiter tendencies.
That's me.
So I see both sides of my culture. I see the beautiful parts of them, like.
Yeah.
Desi food's amazing. I love the music. I love the Bollywood dramas. They're cheesy, I know, but I love them. And I love my family on that side.
Yeah.
And same thing with the other side. The food isn't as good, but
they're good people.
Yeah.
Half Italian? Like, isn't that like...
No, she's like English.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a lot of beans. It's not my favorite.
Yum yum.
No, I love that you answered it like that, Jahan, because there is no right or wrong answer. It's really, you guys are at an age where you guys can genuinely answer this from the heart, and I think that was really accurate. Brock, where are you thinking?
I think that I had a duality growing up with culture. I was the first male in my family for a long time, right? Like I was the first male cousin, so I was obviously in brown culture, you're expected to do a lot as sort of a male to sort of like take charge and whatnot. Like I remember the males on both sides of my mom's and my dad's side. They would, you know, they were just sort of like leaders of the respective sibling group and cousin group. And in brown culture, like there's just cousins mean second cousins, third cousins, family friends, they're all cousins, right? So it was never like verbally said to me, but like I don't know, you just kind of felt that expectation that like you had to fill that role of you're going to be the next, you know what I mean, like figurehead almost of these people, and you have to set the tone for the ones that come behind you. So definitely like when, you know, whatever happened, like if I got in trouble for like staying up too late as a child, like, and I had an outburst, you felt angry about the outburst, but you also felt angry that you had an outburst because you realized you're setting a trend for the ones behind you. And that was a guilt I actually felt like way back from like 13, 14, whatever. I remember like having stories of when getting in fights with whoever it was, right? And being like, damn it, like that sucks because I'm supposed to be, or like in my head, back of my head, right? Like you're supposed to be an example as well as that. As for growing up and also like a Western culture too, trying to have that, I think definitely like we negate the positives of that. Like I think there's a huge stress of, you know, like you said, shaking hands with everyone in the room. Like literally, like the families are huge right here. Like I said, like we got to shake hands with like 40 dudes with the president walking the podium. You know what I'm saying? Like it's actually absurd. So like, but like that taught me to like make conversation with such a wide variety of like random people, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yo, I've never seen you before, but you told me like held you when you were this big. Who the hell are you?
That's the one I'm like,
yeah. But you gotta make conversation though, right? Like you have to like be like, yo, that's crazy. Like how's life? You know what I'm saying? And like that thing that like those sort of things carried over because now like in job interviews, like I just go so far beyond like just the basic like, yeah, my day is good. Like how's yours? You know what I'm saying? Like I can actually like reciprocate conversation because that stress was put on me at such a young age. And like even things like now, like I'm still calling people older than me like Mr., Mrs., Ms., things like that, like last names. And they're like, yo, you can call me whoever. And I've been told that so many times, but it's just so like ingrained in me that you have to, you know what I'm saying? Exactly. Like I've literally been told by people, Ethan, like, yo, call me by my first name. Like, you've known me for like 8 years. Like I'm like this guy's parent. You're like literally his best friend. Like I can't do that. Like it's so weird, bro. Like I can't, it just doesn't work like that.
Does not.
The wiring's twisted. But like definitely to Iman's point too, like it like growing up in a Western high school, middle school, everything, right? It was so odd having to like tell people like, yo, I'm allergic to pork, like I'm allergic to bacon, right? Like I can't have these marshmallows and things like that. I remember like going through like Halloween candies and be like, all right, this pile's going in the garbage, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And like you would like, I don't know, you'd almost sort of hide it like a little bit or whatever. But then like I think at a certain point when you understood what you were doing it for, it became so cool. The only thing that I wish I could go back on is I think that the language is such a big part of the culture. And I think that it's so unseen, but there definitely is a subculture of like the Indian Pakistani community here in Canada. And they are a very tight culture. Like I'll be walking around on campus and like the only other brown dude 40 yards away from me will like start waving at me. I'm like, who the hell is this guy? You know what I'm saying? But he'll come up and be like, yo, wallahi, like what's up right now? Like, kidda, you know what I'm saying? I have no idea how to respond. Yeah, you guys
No way he says that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And I have no idea how to respond to him. And like you can just see sort of in their face, like a little bit, it falls. He's like, oh, this guy doesn't.
They think less of you.
You know what I'm saying? It's like this guy's a little bit too Western. Like, you know, and there's that expectation. Damn, bro. Like I remember going to parties and like again, like the only other brown dude there will come up to me, dap me up, and be like, yo, kidda, what's up, bro? Like, how you doing right now? Blah, 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 blah. Blah, blah, blah. And I'll be like, yeah. And then, you know, their face falls a little bit. And like that actually, like, you know, like after a while, damn, bro, like I wish I learned that language. You know what I'm saying?
Makes you feel kind of inadequate.
Yeah, no, for real, right?
Yeah.
It's like, yo, like you're not one of us almost. And that's like a really, like that's a real thing, right? Where you're like sort of that middle child of two different cultures. But I think also that middle child is such a cool spot to be as well.
You can be able to relate to both, like both sides when you're in the middle.
To understand it, right?
Yeah.
And to be like the product.
You know, for me, growing up, like I've had, like we have Zulu, Xhosa, and then we have Shona and Ndebele. That's 4 different languages. Like they're all
And
Bantu
Chichewa.
languages. And Chichewa, right? So those are like 5 different Bantu languages. Some of the things the words are kind of the same, but like, you know, there's still 5 different languages. And you know, for me, growing up, people would speak to me because I grew up in South Africa. So the notion in South Africa is if you're a South African, you know how to speak Zulu, you know? You need to be able to speak Ndebele or Xhosa or all the other languages that they have there in South Africa. And for me, it was like, if you speak to me, I'll understand what you're saying, but I have to respond to you in English. And they hated that. You know, growing up, they hated it. They called my mother names. They called me names. You know, they were like, no, you don't even, like, how can you even be black? I'm like, well, clearly, it's right here. I am. So you see it, I see it, we all see it. But you know, it was a very big thing. It was like I started to feel like I'm not truly African.
Yeah.
And
you know,
and
I'm
also,
not really. Huh?
Sorry, I was gonna say because also Ethan and I have English names. I'm Lena. He's Ethan. So like people had like cultural names, and people would be like, "What's your name?" And I'm like, "Rowena." And they're like, "Huh? Who named you?" And I'm like, "They're like, what language is that?" And I'm like, "I think it's like Italian or something." They're like, "Oh, okay."
Can I step in this
Yes,
one
please.
on the language thing? So maybe let me explain a little bit the backstory with my children. So they were born in Zimbabwe. I'm Malawian. I'm half Malawian, half Zimbabwean. So they were born in Zimbabwe, where we have 2 languages. Their father is Shona, and my mother is Ndebele. So I didn't know Shona. I knew my mother's language. So, and then when they were still very little, we moved to South Africa. South Africa has got, I don't know how many languages. And I felt very guilty to even teach them any South African language because they didn't know their home languages. So I just left it on English because at least they could communicate with everybody. I speak 6 languages fluently. My children speak 1. I feel guilty. I wish they had learned, but I didn't make too much of an effort to teach them because also naturally they are not linguists. You teach them a word, then they butcher it, and I'm thinking, good Lord, let me just leave them alone. You know, you teach them one Shona word and they are pronouncing it in a certain way. I'm thinking, you know what, English is good. Let's go. You know? And the years passed, but I wish they could speak honestly. And there are times when, like I'm saying, I speak 6 fluently. I went here in Canada. When I meet with my people that I knew from my Bulawayo days, my Ndebele days, I am speaking fluently in Ndebele and my children are lost. I meet the Shona people, I am in this group and I'm speaking fluently and my children are lost. I wish they had learned, and that's a big part of their culture that they missed out. But the most important thing is I feel they're able to communicate confidently in a universal language. And also they do know where they come from. And like you said earlier, you were just trying to stay alive. You were, you know, the Bee Gees. Is it the Bee Gees? Staying alive and just trying to get to the next day. So, and teach them even more important things. And I'm not to say language is not important, but there were more things, more pressing things, that we had to survive and teach them. That fell on the wayside. We look back and we wish we had done it, but we know that whatever decisions we made were correct at the time.
Would you say that that's the only regret when you look back at your parenting and the things that you did and the decisions that you made? Is that the only regret that you have?
Oh my God, no. And I don't think I don't even think there's any parent who can actually say they don't regret. There is an amazing level of guilt that just comes from parenting itself. There are so many things I wish I had done. Oh my word.
Give me like your top 2.
Oh my goodness. I wish I had more time to teach them how to relate to people. Like I mentioned, we were on our own in a whole different country. If you have been to Johannesburg, it's one of the busiest. You can equate it to New York. It's one of the busiest cities in Africa. We were just us. And it didn't help. It's not a disadvantage, but my children with their talents, between piano lesson, hockey practice, dance competitions, dance practice and all that, we had no time to mix with people. So I always worried about their people skills, especially when it comes to family. I wish they had a big bond with family. I grew up, on my father's side, we were very close I left when I was 14, but it was very close. My mother's side, my goodness, that was amazing. Every month we would have family lunch, we would meet at somebody's house, and my children missed out on all of that. That is a big regret that I have, but again, I had to be in the diaspora for many reasons, and we had to be on our own for many reasons, and we still managed. I mean, we're not missing a tooth from it.
Well, actually.
Sandy,
I think they're all there.
Do you have any regrets as a parent, like any big ones that stick out that you just think back and go, oh, I wish I had done this, or I wish I had ignored this, or I wish I'd done more of this?
I think for every mom, I think we could all say the same thing. You wish you were more present at the time and enjoyed every stage more, because the stages, they were amazing. And I look at pictures and I'm like, I remember that. I remember being there and doing that, but I don't, if I could have a do-over, I'd be more present at each thing, at each event. So that would be the one thing, because I think really you are just trying to survive. You're tired, you're trying to get groceries, you're trying to get everybody to school and have play dates and sports and driving everyone everywhere, and you're not enjoying it. I was always getting ready for the next thing instead of enjoying what was in front of me, which I try to do now. So I would say that's it.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. I think that every parent looks back and they think about, we usually think about all our mistakes. We never think about the things that we did right, or we never think about the successes and all these amazing kids that are sitting here. My biggest one is I wish that I connected with my kids more. It wasn't just about getting to hockey, getting to soccer, volunteering in their classes, being soccer mom and all that sort of stuff. Those were the things that I did, like the motions that I went through, but rather asking like, hey, what'd you think about the soccer game? How was school today? Rather than, let's go, get those backpacks done. Let's get snack done. And now we're gonna get out the door because we've got this. So it wasn't really that I was talking to them, but rather I was talking at them. You know, and I really feel like, and I regret that in their like sort of 0 to 14 maybe, it was more about getting things done rather than stop and just ask how they're doing. Stop and just enjoy whatever it is that you're doing with them. And I wish, obviously we can't turn back time, but I really wish that I'd talked to my kids more and given them the opportunity to know that I really do want to know them as individuals. And I think I missed out on that one.
No, I think that's huge. Personally, as from a kid's perspective, obviously, I'm not a mom yet. But
Not yet, buddy.
Go ahead.
Like when you're going through life through those young ages, you're not really focused on anyone else's life but your own. And as I grew up, I started to realize like you're watching your parents grow up too. You're watching your parents learn too.
Good
you know,
point.
and it's so tough because
corny.
like. You go through like 3 stages of it, and it's like your parents are your role model to begin with, and then you start to catch on to some mistakes they're making or some like times that where they're more hard on themselves, right? And then you recognize that like they're human, you know, and you start to like before that I kind of hated it because I went wild in high school. Like I was wild. I was out all night. I was, partying.
Past tense. Like,
What? You know the story, don't you?
I was there.
You mean I was there? We know what happened.
Yes.
We moved
Sorry,
past
back.
it.
They gave up on me, whatever.
bro's talking
No,
about past
but-
tense.
Yeah.
I mean, yesterday's
Like,
past
I was like, why can't you see this
right?
from my side? Like, I'm
Yeah.
a kid. I want to experience these things. I want to live my life. And then you humanize your parents in the end, and you be like, okay, like we were going through it together. There's no manual on how to teach your kids. There's no manual on how to raise your kids. You know, it's they're just making it up as they go. You know, and that was a huge part for me. That like if I were to say like I regret something, is being harder on my parents or being hard on my parents. I wouldn't want to be harder on my parents. So being hard on my
Harder
parents.
on my parents.
Let's get worse after this.
This is going to get worse?
Easy, bro.
Oh my God.
No, but I agree with that. Watching your parents like parent you is kind of a different type of experience because it's not only that you're obeying and listening and doing as you're told, but there's actually, like I look at it as we grew up from like 0 to like 6, we were not very conscious people.
True.
We were not really thinking about the bigger picture. We're not really, we weren't even planning for ourselves. It was more like, dude, the stomach, like the guy, like you're the guy that, puts the food here. So, that was kind of the whole thing from 0 to like 6-ish around there. And then you start getting into consciousness and you're like, okay, why is my mom going to work?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Then it's like, why is she tired? Like, I'm the only thing that should be tiring her. Like when I make noise, it should be, like, what are these other things in life? And then it hit me one day when my mom we used to take a shuttle service home, right? All my other friends, their moms would pick them up, And I was wondering, I'm like, why doesn't my mom pick me up? And I remember one day when my mom registered me for the shuttle service, I was like, why can't you pick me up? She was like, I have work. And that was so weird to me. Because I was like, why? It's only when I matured, I realized like, the woman had to keep the lights on. There's a house at home. There's a car in the garage that needs fuel. My stomach needs, you know what I mean? There's all these things. I'm a lot, right? I need a piano. I need this. I need this. Like a piano's not cheap, And that's when I realized that, like you kind of got to like be like, you know what? I understand what, like I can relate to you. It's not just me in this predicament. It's you and me growing.
No, let me tell you, the first 10 years of my life, my mom did not know my name. It was any other name but my name. She looked at me and be like, Ethan? I'm like, I haven't even met this kid. All right. So like I started to catch on. I was like, all right, you know what? She's a human being. She's not perfect. She's gonna make mistakes, you know. And accepting that's such a huge thing that kids realize it's way too late, you know.
Yeah,
that's why you're called Jabra. Like,
I didn't know what my name was.
Yeah, just so you know, on the name thing, this is going to continue happening. Yeah, I have too many kids. So I will mix up their names, and when they don't respond, I'll pick the closest thing and say, you know I'm calling you. So let's just make peace with this thing. The names get mixed up.
It's just a name.
It's a
You know
name.
what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I love
You chose it though.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like, who told you?
I named names,
In my case, I say you the boy and you the girl. Just know you are.
Yeah.
You know.
The pink one.
Or I'm pointing at you.
Pink one or the blue one.
I'm talking about you.
Yes.
You know.
And in my defense, there was always how many teenagers in my house at any given time. When I came home, I
but the
had
one that
no
came out of you, you should
idea.
know what it's called. The one that came out of you, you should know what it's called.
when they're all from the back of you, you know, you kind of like, okay, and they're all sharing clothes like little girls and stuff like that. It's a very interesting experience, may I
When
say.
was
So
I just like a little girl?
We don't share clothes with mom. Like, let's get back to Let's clarify that.
Where's this from? Where's that from?
So,
I know you don't share clothes, but you share makeup, right? It's a foundation.
So next topic. What do you want? Moving on.
I think it's so cool though, like now, because we're like, we can talk as two adults, you know? It's not like, yes, of course you guys are still our parents, but you guys are our safety nets now. You guys aren't, we're out in our own world, right? Like we're at university, we have to figure it out, like, right? We don't have our mom. And so I think losing you guys made us appreciate it more, you know? And also like growing up, right? Because like Ethan said and everybody else like attested to is like, we didn't understand. You guys were there. And so we kind of took that for granted because you guys were there, obviously. But now we're two human beings who have like-minded ideas because of how you guys taught us to grow up, hopefully, except for Jamal. But like, you know, so,
Jamal Day.
but like it's so cool, and it's good. Like obviously, like mom and I were like best friends and everything, and I love calling you and just being like, yeah, this weird thing happened. I don't understand, and you know, kind of like going through conflict resolution together as two individuals coming together instead of a mom and a daughter who is just separated, right? And explaining, like I know. Obviously, us girls, like we like want to get our hair done and our nails done, and you know, and our moms are like, don't do that, do not dye your hair. Like I know I wanted to go like bright pink, and then my mom was like, ooh, why? Like,
I wanted to do that too.
you know, and so yeah,
Like, why are we picking the brown boy? Like,
you know,
Where is he?
I'm also brown.
and like waxing your like face and stuff like that, and like thankfully I didn't like lose an eyebrow because my mom was there to kind of guide me and stuff like that. I think that is something that I really look back on my childhood fondly. Is that, you know, my dad was there, but he was like, I was daddy's girl, right? Like he couldn't say no to me, but my mom was the one who was kind of more, you know, like let's guide, let's figure this out because like you're approaching womanhood and I need to teach you how to do that and how to be graceful, right? You know, not every situation you can like be this kind of person, right? You got to figure out how to adapt and stuff like that. So I think like looking back, I think the stage is the best stage. I don't know. I mean, I didn't really remember the other stages. But like, you know, you're trouble in your teens, like you are. But now, like, slowly getting out of that and figuring out that your parents are human, like that realization is so helpful because now you guys get to work together and you come to them, you know. And it's like, and then they are just here and they are excited to hear your voice and you're excited to hear theirs. So it's like a nice mutual relationship.
So everybody says, and I'm sure we've said it as kids too, when I grow up, I'm never going to do boop, boop, boop that my parent did. Do you guys ever say that? Or
Oh,
like,
let me
would-
start.
That's good. That's
Yes.
good.
would you finish that sentence? When I grow up, I would never.
I think like you guys were so independent and we learned a lot about independence and, you know, problem solving and figuring it out. And that was great. And I think that's an amazing skill that you need to have. But also seeing like, it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to like, you know, like our parents, they had to keep it all together. You know, they had to be our parents. They had to be on all the time, right? Like that's something I heard is like, I got to be on for you. Like, I'm sorry, I'm not having a good day, but like I have to be on for you, right? And you kind of like felt uncomfortable and you're like, you have to fake it. And I'm like, I don't think that should be this thing. Obviously, you don't want to break down and like lose your crap and throw a temper tantrum, but emotions are there for a reason, and they're supposed to guide you in your experience of like, it's your red flag when you're sad, and you're constantly sad, right? That's a red flag. What am I doing wrong, right? To check in with yourself and, you know, checking with people around you. I think watching our parents, it's amazing to be independent and everything, but also knowing like, it's okay. It's okay. Like, you can lose it a little bit and it's not, right? So I think it's hard, I understand, because obviously your parents also, if they're losing it all the time, you don't want to come to them because you're like, what the heck's going on? So definitely there's a duality to that. But I think just, you don't have to be fiercely independent that you're alone and that you feel alone, that you have to hide from everybody and that you have to just be on for everybody always. I think there's a lot of strength and beauty in like reaching out to those around you, you know, and, you know, people checking in, like that's a good feeling. And you don't have to hide that part of yourself because it's a shameful thing to not always know what's the next move, you know?
But growing up, and we had rules, like no sleepovers, we had several rules, right?
Yeah.
Which one is the one that you hated the most? Just pick one. You don't have time for all
Let me
of them.
like calculate. Like, I don't know. Like, I think I understand a lot more now. I think, like, yeah, I understand a lot of why. I mean, obviously I hated it, and I know like when I have kids, like they're gonna hate it too, right? So I don't really have any faults of like, you did this and I really didn't like that. Like, obviously it's hard to parent. I know it. I know because I was a hard kid to parent, you know, at sometimes. But I don't know. Like, I think maybe the beauty aspect, right? Everybody's getting their nails done, and my dad was like, no, like, and he was trying to teach me inner beauty before outer beauty, and I appreciate that lesson. But at the same time, I was like, it is a coat of pink paint. I do not think it's gonna kill me. I do not think it's that serious. I do not think it's that deep. And like, you know, not being able to go to like the nail salon for a girl's birthday party, I'm like, okay, like, you know, or like wearing lip gloss for a wedding when I'm seeing my mom get all dolled up and my aunts get all dolled up and the like bride get all dolled up. And I'm like, it is not that deep. I'm so sorry. Like, you know, so I think maybe that, and just like taking, not everything has to be a teaching experience in that one moment, you know? You can just be a kid and like it not be that deep. But it's like Joel Osteen every morning, every single day, drive to school. Like, you know, it's not, I don't think it has to, everything has to be, well, let me like pick it apart and actually, why do you think this? Like, I don't care why I think this.
I just
give me the nail polish, you know, kind of thing. So I think
Nina, what's your thoughts? I think you're ready to go.
My mom. My mom did this really criminal thing. She does a lot of criminal things. She does a lot of like little things that I'm just like, you can't be serious right now.
Yeah.
Like, she'll come from upstairs to get the remote that's on the couch with her. Okay. That's fine.
Yeah, but it would be a little further.
It'll be further. She'll come from upstairs to get the remote on the couch that's sitting next to her. Okay. The remote is next to her.
Yeah, but I don't want to get up.
But there's one thing she did. I think she did this to Ethan or me. I can't remember. But she woke one of us up at 4 a.m. to wash the dishes because we didn't wash them the night before. Oh. I will never ever disrespect my child like that. That is just like straight disrespect.
Oh wow, yeah.
I would never do that. I don't know. Was it you? I think it was you because I remember laughing.
I remember laughing.
I was like, laugh at me.
That's mad.
I meant to do that again last night. Because someone didn't finish the laundry, but I was too tired to fight.
I was tired.
But anyway, let's continue. Sorry.
So, Ethan, you're up.
One of the rules.
You absolutely hated that you don't want to do with your kids.
Nah, my kids are gonna get it worse than I did.
Oh.
No, if I'm being realistic with you guys, like, I'm perfect, right? So we need to make more perfect people.
Okay, let's
right?
pause here for your
Which camera's on me?
Humility
That one? Yeah, so like, I'm perfect, right? So we need to make sure we keep up perfection.
Okay,
So,
Brock, how about you?
Yeah, I got nothing. She did a great job.
Like my first sleepover was like 18 years old. At like my grad, like bro, I'm a 6'5", like grade 5 child. Like no one is abducting me, mom. I'm abducting other
No one
people.
wants you.
Yeah, no, literally, bro. Like, I'll be okay, mom. You know what I'm saying? I was like, why can't I go to the sleepover? Like, let me go, and I have like an iPod or whatever. Like we'll be okay. Like watch, right? And then I was like, no. So I kind of wish like a little bit, you know, for good, better or worse, like that leash was just like kind of let go of. Sometimes it's like either like kind of fall flat in your face, like, okay, I see what you were saying now, reroute, and then I could understand it a little better because I think that's how I learn. Yeah. Or the other way around, like I could have been like, see, mom, I told you like this did work out this way, and now I've explored this avenue, and now like we both know like I can do this, or now we know there's a limitation here or whatnot. You know, I think that would have been, and it's tough, right? Obviously for parents to be like, you don't want to see your kid like smack into a wall or whatever. Like you don't want to see that because like I hit that same wall, bro. Like it's right there, bro. Like you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's obviously tough for you guys to be like, all right, fine, like go do it. See what happens, right?
So the sleepover was the one that.
Not the sleepover.
That was the one.
Just
John,
like
what's your thoughts on this?
Yeah, honestly, like I think Brock pretty much nailed it there with that whole kind of around, find out parent style. You know what I mean? Like, okay, you want to like learn stuff, go experience it yourself.
Yeah.
And yeah, the way you learn is like when you're in uncomfortable situations, that's when you grow, sort of.
Yeah.
So
But
I feel like,
was there a rule that you hated in your
oh yeah,
your mom or dad?
sleepovers for sure.
Which one, sleepovers? No.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
Missed out on those, I think.
Wow.
Integral part,
Yeah.
Clearly.
All right, I've got two. I got two right off the bat. One is my mom, if I don't text her back, will like hold my hand the rest of the day to ground me and go through my day with me. Like if I'll have a date that day, it's me and my mom dating that girl. It's not just, it's a collective effort. And the second thing is that when my mom calls me from upstairs, she'll be like, Jamal, and I'll respond and be like, yes, mom, and she'll wait. She'll wait for me to walk downstairs to be like, can you grab the remote from upstairs? I'm like, why? Like it annoys me so much, but yeah, that was my two. I don't know. It's a rough one for sure.
That sounds really bad.
Yeah, no, I have a really hard life. What can I say?
How did you guys navigate not having sleepovers as teenagers, or like middle schoolers? Because I feel like that was like a big part. Like
Those
that
are
was
cultural
Family
events.
was huge to us. Like we slept over at Jahan's house. Brock lived with Jahan for like a month.
Period.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were only allowed sleepovers with each other pretty much. So
Okay, don't phrase it. It's like that.
that's why we're so close now, right?
Okay. We ain't that close. Like that's
No, we did not have any sleepovers as teens, and they were big cultural events. Like I don't know about you guys, but they were like pretty huge. Like dudes would be talking about like, yo, remember that time or blah, because that was like the first like sort of taste of like independence. So we were in the same house for like X amount of hours with other children without like parental supervision like constantly. You know what I mean? Like, that was the first time you got that little bit. And the other big one I kind of forgot about was like when the licenses came around. My parents were sticklers about not letting me sit in other people's cars that were like 16 for like okay reason. Like I grant you some of those high school drivers were a little bit iffy, but like being in the car with your friends for the first time was a euphoric experience. So you have like your own aux and you're just like, I'm turning this to 60 and I'm gonna turn the light on in this car and no one's gonna shout at me.
Let's stop. Brock, you were the iffy driver. Let's not lie to ourselves.
Yeah,
I still am that iffy driver.
Yeah, guy. No,
I don't want to hear you talk.
One of the rules I had was like, you have to be home at a certain time.
Yeah.
That's a rule. Like, okay, I understand it. Like, it makes sense. But sometimes I'm like, but guy, the people are going out now.
Yes.
You know, like the motive is that side.
Yeah.
Exactly.
This is gold, you guys. This is all coming out. Hey, are you writing this down?
No, I'll be at a party and the party ends at like 3 a.m. and mom's at 11. Mom's like, I'm coming. What do you mean at 11 you're coming? Like, come on.
Yeah, but I sleep at 9. I've actually compromised.
Exactly. See, that's the issue. I'll be like,
If you had your own driver's license, you could do your own thing.
Yeah, no. And you know what annoys me is that when I was out, my mom would stay up until I got home. And she's like, I had to stay up for you. And I'm like, Mom, you didn't have to stay up. You could go to sleep. You know?
Exactly.
She's like, I have no faith in you. That's why. Okay.
I have no faith in you.
Or even like being like especially when the licenses came around again too, like plans would change, right? Like you'd go to the mom and be like, yo, you guys want to all go back to blah blah blah's house? And like you text your mom like, yo, I'm going to the mall with these people. Then like she'd be like, yo, where are you? Like, what's the plan? Like, I'm gonna go to this guy's house. Like, that wasn't the plan. Like, you lied to me. Like, plans change, bro. Like, you know what I mean? I gotta go here now. Like, everyone's going there, and you had to like.
You have to like keep a strict itinerary.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm busy right now. You know, leave me alone.
I was just given come at this time.
Yeah.
But no, my she'd be like, you're coming home now or whatever.
Yeah, and I was like,
We're going to give the moms an opportunity to answer all this back. Moms, sleepovers. Why didn't you let your kids go to sleepovers?
Well, that's a good question. Actually, there's a lot of components to that. I think it was more of a safety issue. We just weren't feeling comfortable that it might have been safe.
100%, you guys. I mean, I know who the parents are, but I don't know who Uncle Bob is. I don't know who Uncle or Auntie Sand, or not Auntie Sandy.
Auntie Sand.
I don't know who Auntie so-and-so is. So yes, I trust the parents because we're on the soccer fields all the time and whatnot. But one bad experience can scar you guys for life. So for us, saying no and seeing your cute little faces all disappointed, but why, Mom? Well, because that mistake, that experience is one that is very hard for you guys to come back from. And so, yes, at some point, we eventually allowed you guys to go, hopefully because we believed that you were at that stage where you recognized when there was a creepy adult and you recognized when there was a nice adult, and there was a differentiation, and you got that. Is that your thoughts too, Keo? Sorry, is that your thoughts too?
Yeah. So, like you said, Jamal, there's no manual to parenting. We're finding out what to do, when to do as we go. And our generation was the generation that actually started with finding out that there's a creepy uncle, and then people would actually speak about it. It happened to our parents before, but it was never spoken about. It was a hush-hush. Mm-hmm. So when we then had children, allowing you guys to go to certain places that we were not sure of, after what we had learned, that there's a certain uncle, no one can touch you like this. There was an awareness during our youth. So now when you guys came around, we had to be very strict. Our parents let us go, and a lot of people in our generation got very much abused. So it was hard for us to actually just let go. So that's where you'll find that. You find a lot of people in your age group will tell you the same story as us. And even on those odd occasions that we let you go, I think in your case, you had a family. So at least you had certain families that you could choose from. We were on our own in a different country. Now I had to compromise having my children go and sleep over at a friend's place, a friend that we only know from church or from school. Mm-hmm. It was hard.
Yep.
It was hard, but at the same time, you also want them to have those people's skills, go and learn from other families. But you're thinking, dear Lord, you're praying all night. You're praying all night, dear Lord, I hope nobody says anything and touches my child. And, it's hard. It was very hard. And it's not just sleepovers. Even just going to visit certain families, you don't know what their values are. There are people that do certain things. There are spirits out there that we really don't want to entertain in our lives, there's the dark side of life. So some people, it's not necessarily just child abuse. There's a dark side of life. People do certain things that you just don't want your children to be exposed to. So these people, we may know them, we see them for an hour or two at church or at school, and maybe our kids are on the same soccer team, but we don't really know them. And to give them the most prize, if there's anything that is important to us, is our children. I was telling Sandy earlier that you can do anything to me. Go and mess up my kids, and you will know me like you've never known me before. Amen. I will show you things. You will be spinning so fast. You will be ground in a very fine powder. Yeah. I will destroy you if you ever mess up with my children. So because of that protectiveness makes it so hard for us to actually throw you in the fire and watch. Yeah. That's why it was difficult to just let you go anywhere. That's the challenge. If you
do what everybody else is doing. Yeah. Sandy, you can end this one up, and what are your thoughts on what she just said?
Oh no, I agree with that 100% for sure. And that's it. You're talking about that parenting style. What did you call it?
Can I repeat it?
Mess around and find out. Mess around and find out. Yeah. I guess as a parent, you want to protect your kids from some of the things maybe that happened, mistakes that we made, things that could have gone sideways that didn't, thank God. Yeah. But you want to protect your kids from that. But I also understand too, you guys definitely wanted a certain amount of freedom for sure.
I think though, like it does go beyond just like amount of freedom. Like there was a need to fit in as well, right? And at that age, that's so important, right? Like that's the only group right? At that age, so that's like you're a family away from your family, literally, right? And when you're not included in those events, like it'd be like as if me, Jahan, Ethan are all hanging out and Jamal's not included, right? That's how you felt as a child.
Yeah.
But I also felt like not being able to go to those sort of social events at a young age also like over sheltered us a little bit, where like we were behind the curve of like knowing like how to swear or whatever, and like everyone else was like but that was like a big cultural thing, you know what I mean? Like
that's
like,
huge.
even, like, knowing,
That's huge. Exactly.
no, but like
Use the right adjective, right?
Right.
Yeah.
like, even like certain things like that, like certain cultural things at that age, you just never got to experience like firsthand, right? Like you never got to, I don't know, like prank call people or whatever, and then those are no, but you know what I'm saying? Like those are like big social events at that age that you just never got to go to. And there's so many more, I think, of like, you know, boys all getting huddled at a sleepover and they're like, okay, let's talk about girls or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like those sort of conversations took place, right? And you were behind the ball on those conversations. You never got to hear how boys talk to one another or something like that in those late night conversations, right? Because that's the home away from home when you go to those events. So I think that was a big part, is like you almost felt over sheltered, and then you felt unprepared once you got out of that as well.
This has been such a fun and interesting episode, to say the least. Some of the things that the kids were talking about and not being able to go to sleepovers and whatnot, and the parents justifying that. It was very, very heartwarming for me to hear that. I think it really gave us a perspective that we don't often see as much in a family dynamic. I would even say in our own family sometimes. I'm definitely going to take note of many of the things that my children said about me. Just kidding. But really, it's important to have a two-way relationship with your children, to listen to each other and to learn and see your children for the people that they are becoming, not just what you initially thought of them while they are still at home. When we were talking about the guilt that the moms had and the children justifying that it's okay, you're a human and we understand that, that really resonated with me as a parent. Thank you so much, everyone, and we'll catch you again on another episode of the Gen Xperience with Aisha.
Be alright. Not a worry on a cloud in the sky. Let those positive rays shine down from above. No hate, no fear, just bundles of love. You can overcome any problem that comes your way by faith. Life is hard, I know. Bring it on, let it show. Let the love wash it all away. When you feel like giving up, let the love come in. When you feel you ain't enough, let the love wash over. When you don't know where to turn, I'll be standing there, and I'll tell you where to be.